Ito ang Broad Streamcast Communicators, ang naiba at kakaibang plataforma sa digital broadcast. Mula Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao hanggang sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo. Broad Streamcast Communicators, ang sandigan ng sambayanan mula sa walang labis at walang kulang na pagbabalita, paglilingkod, maglalahad ng mga mapagbuong komentaryo at usaping pambayan para sa kapakanan ng karamihan. Broad Streamcast Communicators, tuwirang maglilingkod ngayon hanggang sa susunod na henerasyon. Buhay Online, chikahan at kalamang pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating Techie Mami, si Jaye C. Bautista.
Hello! Happy, ano ba yan? Bigla akong nawala sa sarili ko. Ano bang araw tayo ngayon? Happy Monday, everyone, right? It's Monday. Very good, okay? Ano ba yan? Talagang this work from home situation, I really lose track of time and space. Hindi ko na alam kung anong araw. Monday. Happy Monday, everyone. Balik po tayo sa pag-broadcast, of course, dahil Monday to Friday po tayo ang Buhay Online. Very good. I trust that everyone had a good weekend, okay? Of course, with the down on the lockdown sa Metro Manila at sa NCR, of course, a lot of people nag-out of town, especially yung mga na-vaccinate na ng double dose, right? Sort of medyo normal na yung life ng mga tao, but of course still with the same safety protocols and precautions kasi hindi porke nakabakuna na, ibig sabihin hindi ka nadadapuan ng virus. Because talaga, there have been cases, of course, na-vaccinate na pero nagkaroon pa rin ng infection, pero yun na nga, madali nang gumaling. Okay? Hindi na masyadong death-defying or death-threatening, life-threatening yung magka-COVID. Okay? And of course, with the medicines that are around, actually, some people nga, in other countries and also here in the Philippines, yung mga pagka ang mild case, pagka ikaw na-infect mildly or hindi ka naman seriously na kailangan incubate sa ospital, kasi nga, yun yung pag ang virus nasa throat mo pa lang, di ba? You're asked to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks sa bahay mo, of course, and isolate yourself from the rest of your family or your household. At yun nga, minom ng vitamin C, mag-hydrate, tsaka minom ng paracetamol. I know people who have gotten well from it. And hindi man ini-endorse publicly, yun nga, yung Linhua, yung LINNHUA, yung Chinese medicine na yan, na nakatulong, yun in-endorse ni Benhar Abalos tsaka ni Bongbong Marcos na nagpagaling sa kanila. Kasi si Sir Abalos, si Sir Benhar Abalos, yung buong pamilya niya halos nagkaroon ng COVID eh. But sad to say, of course, his mother passed away, si Mayora passed away last year, or was it this year? I think this year. Pero si dating Mayor Abalos survived it, okay? At si Benhar Abalos, siya, ginamot niya yung sarili niya taking the medicine, okay? Yung ivermectin tsaka yung Linhua. Nakatulong yun sa pagpagaling sa bahay, hindi na sila na ospital, right? So, I'm not endorsing it, but actually, binibigay ko to as parang information na yung Linhua na medicine also helps in the cure, in the healing of people with COVID-19. I know for a fact, I know personally some people who got well by it, okay, and are still taking it as maintenance medicine. But anyway, of course, kailangan, of course, magbakuna na. I'm still waiting for my turn to be vaccinated here in Pampanga. Medyo mabagal. Kagaya nga nasabi ko sa Manila, sa Marikina, tapos na lahat ng kamag-anak ko doon. Pati mga bata, pati mga 28 or 30-year-old na pamangkin ko, all vaccinated already. So I'm still waiting here. Okay, last week we talked about modular distance learning and online learning per se, kung anong status nun sa Pilipinas, kung paano we are coping with it. Okay, patuloy pa rin natin ito papag-usapan because there's still issues about it and we're going through this sa ating pamumuhay, daily lives. But today, I'm going to discuss about modular distance learning. Yung modules, yung mga hindi naka-online, saka walang capability mag-online studying. Okay? Himayin naman natin at pag-usapan natin kung ano ang modular learning. Alright? Tapos papag-usapan din natin yung mga learning management systems. Okay? Modular distance learning, here's what you need to know. Okay? Okay? Ang isang alternative kasi to learning sa distance learning o yung hindi pagpasok sa face-to-face na eskwela is modular distance learning. Okay? Ang modular distance learning features individualized instruction, okay, that allows learners to use self-learning modules or SLMS. In print, okay, ito ay either in print or digital format, electronic copy, whichever is applicable to the learner, okay? Dito sa Pilipinas, sa atin yung printed material ang option. Learners under modular distance learning can also use other resources such as learning materials, textbooks, activity sheets, and study guides, and other study materials, okay? Usually kasi yung mga teachers will have to deliver appropriate learning materials. However, students can also access these materials by downloading electronic copies through their computer, through their email, tablet, PC, or smartphone. Okay? A modular distance learning or MDL. Okay? Maaaring gumamit ang mga mag-aaral ng mga self-learning module na maaaring printed o digital format. Okay? Responsibilidad ng mga guro na subaybayan at gabayan ang progreso ng mag-aaral gamit ang email, text message, instant messaging, or chat, or telepono. Yan nga, yung mga WhatsApp, Viber, diba, Line, yan ang ginagamit. Nararapat lamang na bisitahin ng mga guro sa tahanan ang mga mag-aaral na nangangailangan ng assistance. Okay, tingnan niyo itong picture na to. Ito ang nangyayari dyan. Ang mga mag-aaral, ang mga guro, binibisita yung nagmo-modular learning. Alright? Pero di ba merong ano dyan, nagreklamo, may mga concern yung mga guro tungkol dyan. But of course, ang modular learning, we can use this. So mga maaaring gamitin para sa pag-aaral ng modular, computer, tablet, smartphone, either by CD or DVD, USB flash drive. Okay, of course, yung printed, yan ang digital format. Ang printed module, of course, ay textbook, activity sheets, or study guides na yan ang common na ginagamit dito sa Pilipinas or ginagawa. Yung printed material. Pero 'di ba, discuss natin yung mga concerns regarding that, okay? Okay, I'm going to talk about, all right, okay? Ang mga teachers' commitment brings bright future for learners, okay? Ito ay based on an article that was featured sa Philippine News Agency, okay? Nitong year na to. Teachers' commitment brings bright future for learners, okay? Sa Pangasinan, okay, Aguilar, Pangasinan, news on educators' commitment to their vocation amidst the pandemic continues to bring hope that learners' futures remain bright, di ba? Blended learning ang nakikita nilang future. Pero because of the cancellation of face-to-face classes last year, okay, and this school year, ganun pa rin, it is really still a big challenge for school officials, okay? But the additional hurdle actually is the printed learning materials that students need before classes start. Okay, earlier this year, si Edna Ramirez, Principal 2 of Buhay Bayabas Elementary School, said na ang transition to the current system is even an extra challenge for her and teachers like her since she was assigned to the school last November of last year, a few weeks after classes opened on October nung last year. Sinabi nga yung modules initially given to them arrived late, okay? It arrived around late October tamang-tama pa lang bago magbukas yung school year 2020 to 2021 and early November and were not enough para sa kanilang 632 students at 3 sections per level. Thus, sila mismo, they needed to purchase bond papers, printers, and ink to reproduce the modules. Okay? Yung mga school, itong public school na ito. Okay? 632 ang estudyante. Kulang yung binigay ng gobyernong printed material. So, they took it upon themselves bumili ng bond paper at bumili ng printer para i-print. She said the modules initially given to them arrived late, diba? Tapos, but purchasing these items was not easy because there were supply issues for printers in the province at that time, sabi ni Ramirez. I was able to secure the funds from our MOOE or MOOE, miscellaneous and other operating expenses para kanilang petty cash fund. But we were not able to buy a printer because it was a big demand in the province back then. Kasi nga, yun na, nagkaubusan ng printer kasi yung mga eskwelahan, mga paaralan, kinailangan nilang i-print yung sarili nilang modular materials. Okay? To address the needs, Ramirez said they utilized the school's existing printer, which has not been used for a long time, and a teacher offered her personal printer that required repair. The teachers also utilized books that are with the school to assign exercise activities to their students. Kahit paano nakaraos kami, sabi niya. Adding the supply of modules has improved as the school year progressed. Okay, by now, di ba, nag-improve na yung mga materials pero kulang pa rin, right? Pero tsaka nga yung mga errors dun sa mga school materials naayos na. Despite the challenges, Ramirez also cited parents' effort to help their kids cope with the current situation. Sabi niya, ang mga parents' contribution in their kids' studies are evident to the point a parent admitting to doing her kid's assignment. Yun nga ang nangyari. Yung mga nag-aaral sa bahay ng using modular, the parents ended up doing the homework on the assignment of the students. Kasi hindi ka lang nagmo-monitor, di ba? Yun nga, kasama ka dun sa lesson. Minsan nakaka-encounter ka sa grade 1 pupil, sabi nitong si Miss Ramirez, sabi niya, nakaka-encounter daw siya sa grade 1 pupil. Nakakalimutan yata ni mother na hindi pa nagko-cursive ang pupil, hindi marunong magsulat ng kabit-kabit. Nahalata kasi yung answer, kabit-kabit. So, nahalata tuloy na ang magulang ang gumawa ng assignment. Okay? Ramirez also cited another instance when some parents requested teachers to teach them the lesson in a classroom setting so they can effectively discuss it to their kids. Yun nga yung issue na yan. Paano yung mga magulang, for example, hindi ka nakapag-aral, hindi ka nakapagtapos, elementary lang, tapos high school lang yung anak, paano mo siya tuturuan, di ba? Yun ang isa sa mga pitfalls dyan ng modular learning or homeschooling. Okay? So, also there was a case nga yung ang mga first grader are both working, magulang nila both work and cannot attend the weekly pickup and submission of students' modules. Yun nga, yung convenience, right? Sino yung susundo ng material? This resulted in student missing the lessons kasi yung walang parehong nagtatrabaho yung magulang. Kunyari, yung nanay, nasa palengke, nagtitinda, maaga pa lang, wala na sa bahay. Yung tatay naman, kunyari, driver ng taxi or ng tricycle or whatever. So, parehong wala yung magulang sa bahay. So, sino ang mag-pick up ng material? Tsaka sino yung mag-monitor ng aral ng bata? Ramirez, the class advisor, however, was able to intervene by checking the student at home. Ayun na nga, yung mga guro pumupunta doon sa mga bahay ng mga estudyante to check on them. This makes them frontliners and susceptible to the virus, right? Yung mga guro. These anecdotes are just some of the issues why educators aim for a shift back to face-to-face classes in areas where cases of the coronavirus are low. Pero yun na nga, di ba? Like I said last week, as of June 22, declaration ng Presidente, no face-to-face classes itong papasok na school year 2021 to 2022. Wala pa rin ganong mangyayari even sa low-risk areas. Because of the emergence of this new Delta Indian virus, the variant, which is easily transmittable now, mas mabilis mag-spread. So, binito ni Presidente ang pag-back to face-to-face classes even on low-risk areas. Wala pa rin ganong mangyayari. Okay? Sabi nitong si Ramirez, okay naman yung face-to-face kasi may ways naman kung paano ma-prevent yung pagkalat ng virus. Kasi makikita mo, lalabas ka dyan, yung mga bata naglalaro lang. At least, pag face-to-face at limited ang number per class, mas poprotektahan pa sila ng teacher dahil may social distancing. Okay? Meaning to say, face-to-face is okay because there are ways to prevent the virus spread. Once you got out, you can see the children are just playing. At least when there are face-to-face classes with a limited number of students, the teachers would be able to even protect the kids because there will be social distancing. Kaya lang, yun na nga. Hindi in-approve yan ng Presidente. Sorry to say it, but this incoming school year, 2021-2022, still no face-to-face classes. Okay? Okay? Hindi na nga binayaran talaga. Pinayagan. Sabi pa ni Ramirez noon, if the national government permits, students from Bayawas Elementary School would benefit from the traditional class modality since that around 35 pupils per class, students may have a 2-day shifting schedule to also ensure physical distancing. Yung nga hatiin. Sa ibang countries, ganun ang ginawa nila eh. Kung dati 8 hours nag-aaral, 4 hours lang nag-aaral. Ibang klase sa umaga, ibang klase sa hapon. Mas maganda kasi natututukan sila ng teachers. Iba pa rin po sana ang face-to-face classes. Pero sorry, I said, hindi yan nangyayari. Okay? Kasi last year, the government earlier set a dry run of the limited face-to-face classes in areas where risks of COVID-19 were low starting January last year. But President Rodrigo Duterte canceled this following the discovery of the variant. Okay? In general, she said teachers and parents are coping with the situation but noted the possibility of deterioration of quality of education. Nabanggit na natin yan. And true enough talaga. It's proven. Medyo nag-deteriorate yung quality ng education kasi ang daming estudyante, whether it's public school, private school, yun na nga, expensive schools, nag-suffer talaga yung quality ng education kasi yung delivery ng pagtuturo, right? Yun na nga, like sinabi ko, yung anak ko, isang beses lang nila sa isang linggo makita yung teacher physically. More often than not, they are left to read and study on their own. Read lots of material, okay, or watch a video. Yung human interaction, even virtual, kulang, okay? Iba po talaga pag may personal interaction ng students and teachers, sabi nitong si Ramirez. The DepEd implemented the blending learning this school year 2020-2021 in a bid to lessen students' exposure to COVID-19 following the President's directives, pending the availability of a vaccine. Of course, may vaccine na, okay, nagba-vaccinate na tayo in most areas, like in Metro Manila, almost kompleto na, pero yun na nga. Because of the emergence of the new variant, the UK variant, and the Indian variant recently, hindi na naman pinayagan, okay? As a result, the DepEd formulated modules which are either printed or distributed through the virtual classrooms depending on what the students prefer or what can be tapped or accessed per area. Okay, yan ang nangyari. Alright? Okay, pero is it safe? Okay, safe ba ang modular learning? Ito ang mga fear ng mga teachers because the teachers fear exposure to coronavirus in the modular learning setup. How? Of course, because yun na nga binibisita nila yung mga estudyante, okay? Ang naging issue before, given the postponement of face-to-face learning, again, teachers and parents can only hope the DepEd will be able to address school readiness issues to ensure the delivery of safe, accessible, and quality education for all students, okay? As our country struggles with the coronavirus pandemic, a heated debate about when and how to reopen schools continues to rage, okay? And it's making the teachers anxious, di ba? Bakit? Kasi it appears that modular learning, okay, an alternative to the traditional face-to-face classes supposedly meant to eliminate the risk of contracting the deadly virus, nakita ng mga teachers that it could turn out to be unsafe after all. Bakit? Okay? The Centers for Disease Control, or CDC, said in a news release last year, based on data from lab studies on COVID-19 and what we know about similar respiratory diseases, it may be possible that a person can get COVID-19 by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it and then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes, okay? Itong si Teacher Diane Cruz, a public school teacher in Albay, fears she would contract the virus when she goes out to distribute and retrieve the modules to and from mga bahay ng mga parents at saka estudyante, okay? She has to travel for almost 2 hours just to get to the school. Kasi nga, yung mga teachers na nagiging emissary, sila ang nagiging conduit ng distance learning eh. They have to pick up the completed completed modules or yung lessons for the week. Si teacher exposed sa lahat ng gawain na ito. Okay? Ang DepEd earlier, okay, said they would coordinate with the local government units or LGUs para para i-facilitate ang pag-distribute of the learning modules, especially in high-risk areas. But teachers would still have to retrieve them in designated pickup points. This means they would have to go out and expose themselves to the community. Yun eh. Right? Tingnan nyo to, okay? Yun na nga, like yung mga bumibisita sa bahay, ito. Itong aking picture dito, ayan, ang teacher pupunta doon sa bahay para i-check yung kanyang estudyante or pick upin yung modules na nakumpleto. Exposed ka, okay? Tingnan nyo to, alright? This is how, I'm sorry, okay? This is based on research, okay? Kung ganong katagal naglalast yung virus pagka dumikit sa 72 hours on plastics. O yan, bilhin mo 72 hours. 42 hours on stainless steel. 24 hours on cardboard. And 4 hours on copper. Okay? Yan ang exposure ng virus pag dumikit sa plastic, sa steel, cardboard, saka copper. So, yung mga teachers na lumalabas, right? Yan, they still run the risk of contracting the virus if they pick it up from itong mga plastic or yun na nga, pag kumakain sila din, yung utensils mo, hindi mo alam, di ba? Kasi kahit na nakaharap sa mga ibang restaurants, nakaharap sa plastic yung mga utensils, mga ibang restaurants, hindi, di ba? Nandoon lang din. Sausaw mo sa mainit na tubig or whatever. The thing is, pag tinanggal mo dun sa mainit na tubig or whatever, or pag airborne yung virus, yun na nga, didikit din doon sa kutsarang gagamitin mo para kumain. Or such a risk. Or yung mga papeles na i-transport mo or di-deliver mo doon sa mga estudyante mo. Nakadikit na dyan sa cardboard, 24 hours. Di ba? Alright? Or kung ano man, klaseng material yung kakapitan ng virus. So, there is a risk, di ba? There is a risk dun sa kung saan didikit yung virus, okay? Yun pa kasi, okay? The teacher takes the responsibility of monitoring the progress of the learners. If possible, they would conduct home visits to check on students' progress and performance. Yun na nga, ang mga teacher ang naging frontliners, parang mga nurse and doctors kasi, sila yung pupunta nun sa mga bahay para i-monitor yung pag-aaral ng estudyante, tsaka tanggapin or kunin yung mga completed homework na binibigay every week. Okay? Yun na nga, sinabi ng DepEd, they're trying to coordinate the distribution of the learning modules, especially in high-risk areas. Pero yun na nga, ang nangyayari, teachers still have to retrieve them in designated pickup points. This means they would have to go out and still expose themselves to their communities. Diba, the minute we go out of our house, we run the risk of being infected kahit saan man yun ka pumunta. Okay? Sabi nitong public school teacher na si Cruz, on the first day po ng classes, mga magulang muna ang kukuha ng mga module. During the retrieval, si teacher na po ang babalik sa school para kuhanin ang mga activity sheets na binalik ng mga magulang. Okay? Teacher Angel Tan, a public elementary school teacher in Laguna, is also apprehensive about this kind of setup. Kasi each week, they would have to go to the school every Thursday or Friday to receive the activity sheets of the students, yung mga completed activity sheets ng students. Kasi yun yung gigrade nila, yun yung homework. Ayun yung every week to Yung pag-check ko sa mga output ng mga bata, yung mga papers kasi, iba't iba na ang humahawak niyan. Totoo naman, hindi natin alam kung sino nagtuturo ng bata. Hindi ko alam kung saan nagtatrabaho ang magulang. Tan said. So, and that's what I mean, right? Yung pinakita ko sa inyong ratio or yung time, ilang hours nagsisettle yung virus sa metal, sa 72 hours, o sa cardboard, ilang hours. Okay? So, yan ang concern nitong mga teachers. Like when I check the output of the students, I will be holding papers that have been touched by different people already. We don't know who teaches the students at home. We don't know where their parents work. So kaya nga, hindi natin alam kung saan nanggaling. Baka nakadikit na sa virus yung kanilang, dahil galing sila sa labas. Modular learning is the most preferred by parents for distance learning for this itong naging school year na ito, okay, which is the 2020 to 2021 school year. And ito rin ang preferred ito sa coming school year, which is 2021-2022. Okay? DepEd said that its survey of parents about their preferred alternative learning mode revealed the following. The survey was conducted during the remote enrollment period from June 1 to July 15 last year. Okay? Ang printed modules, itong survey ng mga preferred alternative ng mga magulang. Printed modules, 8.8 million. Ang nagsabing mas prefer nila ang printed modules. Blended learning or yung combination ng learning through modules, online classes, television and radio, 3.9 million. Okay? Online learning, which is using the computer, the internet, okay, and gadgets, 3.8 million. Educational TV, 1.4 million. Radio-based instruction, 900,000. Other modalities not specified by the agency, 500,000. So meaning to say, oh, hello there. Good morning, Jeannie Soldevilla. Happy Monday to you. Hello there, Sir Samuel Gabot. Good morning. Watching my program from Bacoor City, Cavite. Good morning, Sir Samuel Gabot. Sorry, masyado ko na-engross na sa pag-uusapan nitong modular education kasi nga yung problemang kinakaharap ng ating mga guro, mga magulang at estudyante. Thank you for joining me this morning. And of course, the Lakap family, Tita Agnes and Tita Pri, Maniago, all the way sa Bacolor, Cavite. Ay, Bacolor, Cavite. Bacolor, Pampanga. Thank you very much. Okay, and those names I can't see pa rin. Thank you. Good morning, Jeannie. Good morning, Samuel. Good morning, Tita Agnes, Tita Pri, and of course, those other people watching. So going back to what I was saying about modular learning at saka yung mga kinakaharap ng problema. Sabi nila, unsafe ang mag-modular learning para sa mga teachers. Actually, of course, students and parents kasi sila yung pwedeng ma-infect, right? Okay. In a surprise move, okay, on last year, okay, the DepEd postponed the class opening for the school year 2020-21 before, okay? Pero ngayon, talks are still underway kung kailan ubuksan tong 2021-2022 school year. I think ang proposed dates are August 24 or September 3 or September 13 the latest. Hindi pa alam ng presidente kung ano. Kasi actually, kakaumpisa lang ng summer vacation dito sa Pilipinas, right? You know, for some people, na nag-start October yung school year last year. Medyo late silang magbakasyon, July na. Okay, actually, tapos na dapat ang summer vacation sa normal school processes, right? Several groups and lawmakers had earlier called on the DepEd to delay the opening of classes kasi nga sabi nila more time is needed to prepare for the transition to the overhauled education system. Tsaka yun na nga, yung pagpiprint ng modules nagkulang. So, kailangan nilang medyo ipadelay ng konti. Gusto nilang mga tao siguro September na yung umpisa. Okay? Okay, mothers fearing the safety. Okay? In an interview with Rappler last August, okay, Rose Garcia, a mother of 4 kids, all enrolled in a public school in Quezon City, said having to submit the activity sheets of students once a week would pose risks to both parents and teachers alike. Bakit? Siyempre naman, kasi nga, nagkikita sila sa labas para pick upin, or submit. So I was aghast that once a week I would need to retrieve my kindergartener's module at a designated time and submit what he had finished answering. Of course, I raised the point that all public schools have a lot of sections multiplied by the grade levels. The teacher said it's okay because the transaction will be fast. I told her that the plastic envelopes from the parents would expose them. Totoo naman, di ba? Yung kagaya ng pinag-usapan natin. Kahit na nga minutes lang kayong magkita, na-expose na yung paghawak niya doon sa plastic. Di ba? Tingnan natin ulit. Okay? Tingnan natin ulit. Oops, sorry. Ayan na naman. Sarili ko na naman minulog ko. Ayan, Tingnan natin yung exposure ulit. 72 hours on plastic, 48 hours on stainless steel, 24 hours on cardboard, at 4 hours sa copper. See? Yung pag-submit mo nun, yung plastic envelope na nilalagyan ng answers. Or cardboard, 24 hours. Yun, mas maigsi ang panahon na nagstay doon yung virus. Pero sa plastic, matagal. 72 hours. So, wag nang gumamit ng plastic envelope. Pero yun na nga, hindi mo alam kung sino humawak ng papel na yon, right? Or kung nagtatrabaho nga, saan nagtatrabaho yung magulang, right? Na-expose siya araw-araw. Sabi ni Garcia, she also said she was instructed by the teacher to buy plastic envelopes wherein the activity sheets would be placed once they submit them to the teachers at designated pickup points. Naintindihan ko yung bakit plastic yung ni-request ng teacher kasi para pag mabasa yung papel. Kahit na umulan or mabasa, hindi mabasa. Kaso nga, the virus stays on plastic for 72 hours, making it more susceptible sa hahawak nun na ma-infect, right? So weekly, alam mo yon, magpapalitan kami ng pawis over the plastic folder. Itong sabi nitong magulang na si Garcia. Diba? Alangan namang sprayan ng Lysol yung bawat pagkuha namin. So every week, we would trade each other's sweat over the plastic folder, right? Would I have to spray Lysol each time I retrieve the plastic folders? Ayan ang sabi, okay? Ano ang mga lifespan of coronavirus and surfaces? Sino ba? Yan, pinakita ko lang sa inyo. Yun ay based on si Professor Marilyn Balolong, a microbiologist and scientist at the University of the Philippines, Manila, told Raptor in a previous interview that recent studies revealed that the virus could remain viable for up to 72 hours on plastic, 42 hours on stainless steel, 24 hours on cardboard, okay, and 4 hours on copper. O, diba? So, yan ang nangyayari. Can you contract coronavirus disease just by touching surfaces? Yan ang tanong. Okay? Okay? Well, sabi nitong si Professor Marilyn Balolong, okay, ng UP, that a recent study nga showed that the virus could remain viable for those number of hours on those materials. She pointed out, however, that these findings were obtained from experiments conducted under laboratory conditions. There was controlled relative humidity and temperature, and it should be interpreted with caution when considering yung true-to-life scenarios. Experts believe that people are much more likely to be infected through close contact with a coronavirus patient rather than by touching a contaminated surface and then touching their nose, mouth, or eyes. Okay? All right. Okay? So, yun, okay? Pero, di ba? Pero, of course, it's something to know, right? Na yung virus nagsasettle dun sa materials na yun ng ganon. Okay? So, kasi, sabi ni Balolong, according to the CDC, the primary and most important mode of transmission for COVID-19 is still close contact with another person. As Balolong earlier said, exposure in hospitals where coronavirus patients are being treated still poses the highest risk. Kaya nga, di ba, takot magpunta sa ospital yung mga tao kahit pag may nararamdaman na hindi naman necessarily COVID. Is because pag mayroong feeling kang may sakit ka, ayaw mo nang pumunta sa ospital, sa bahay ka na lang pagagaling. Kasi nga, ma-expose ka dun sa area where coronavirus patients were. In may mga cases nga doon sa waiting room ng emergency room, pwede kang magka-COVID, di ba? Kakatakot. But aside from the fear of contracting the virus from contaminated surfaces, Tan also worries about home visitations that they have to do for struggling learners. Yun na nga, sabi nitong si Tan yung magulang, teacher sa isang public school, pinag-home visit kasi kami. May mga parents kami na hindi nakapagtapos. Yun na nga yun, yung sinabi ko. What if the parents cannot teach their children because hindi nga sila nakapag-aral? So ayun nga yung priority namin na i-visit. Yung mga students na hindi kayang mag-aral independently. O yung mga magulang nila, hindi sila kayang turuan kasi nga, incapacity, because of their incapacity, hindi sila nakapagtapos ng aral. Paano nila tuturuan yung anak nila? So the teachers, again, have to visit the homes, okay, and have contact with the students and the parents. Galing sila sa labas, right? So may risk factor dyan. Tan said they were assigned 1 to 2 students per teacher. How do they reach the houses of these students? She said they're supposed to be accompanied by an official from their LGU. But because of safety concerns, Tan prefers to be accompanied by her brother or anyone available from their house rather by an LGU official. Of course, because of safety precautions, di ba? At least yung kasama mo sa bahay, alam mo pareho kayong breathing the same air, okay? Ikaw, yung ano mo, kesa sa LGU official na iba na namang lugar nang galing, ayaw mong ma-infect naman din. Nag-iingat na rin lang kasi ako. As much as possible, gusto ko i-limit ang interaction ko sa mga tao. Sabi ni Tan, okay? So, isa pang concern ng mga teachers, okay? Ang kawalan ng budget para sa COVID-19 treatment. Teachers' anxieties over the opening of school only worsened when DepEd said it has no budget allotted for the treatment of teachers who contract the virus. That is very sad, okay? In a virtual press briefing last August of last year, Education Undersecretary Ann Sevilla said that what has been allowed to be charged to DepEd funds are the supplies needed for compliance with minimum health standards. COVID medication and treatment funding budgets were not present or appropriated in the existing budget of DepEd. And I think it is true for all national government agencies, sabi ni Sevilla. She then clarified in a later Viber message to reporters that her statement was a specific reply to a question about the availability of funding under the DepEd budget for the treatment of teachers na nagkaka-COVID-19, na magkaka-COVID-19. It is only the DOH or Department of Health which has a mandate to use government funds for hospitalization and treatment. Even if we want to assist and support our employees, we don't have the budget to cover and the authority to use DepEd budget for such, sabi ni Sevilla. She, however, noted that all government employees, including DepEd employees, are covered by PhilHealth. But PhilHealth has been the subject of massive scrutiny after allegations of corruption recently surfaced following the resignation of one of its officers. In a Senate inquiry last August, PhilHealth Acting Senior Vice President Nerissa Santiago also said that the agency could go bankrupt by 2022. PhilHealth Chief Ricardo Morales 2 days later, however, said the state insurer has sufficient funds to pay for the benefits of members even in this ongoing pandemic. Mabuti naman, okay? Sinabi ng mga DepEd employees who opted to be treated in private hospitals, according to Sevilla, also got DepEd assistance, not from the government funds, but from the personal contributions and collective efforts of the DepEd family. Funding the requirements for teachers' welfare are also in place, sabi ni Sevilla. Sibilia announced during a press briefing also that teachers will each be receiving 500 pesos, which was targeted for release in September of last year for their annual medical exam. Diyos ko, 500 pesos, okay? Para magpa-medical exam sila annually. 500 pesos ba ang 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 you know, physical exam? Di ba mas more than that? Kung 500 lang ang allotment, Diyos ko, siguro kulang yan. Okay? Government school personnel who physically report for work in an area under enhanced community quarantine or ECQ will also be entitled to a hazard pay of 500 per day. This development came after a teachers group demanded assistance from the department following reports that several teachers had contracted the virus while being asked to report physically in schools amidst the rising COVID-19 cases. Totoo naman nga di ba? Kaya nga sa pagsasara ng ating gobyerno ng mga eskwela, ginawa rin nila yan to protect the teachers. Kaso nga, okay, yung distance learning still involves teachers going to the physical school, whether it's online or modular. Some teachers are still required to go to the schools because yung mga ibang teachers na walang kapasidad na mag-online teaching sa mga bahay nila, they have to go to the school and use the facilities of the school to teach with. And so doing, ito namang modular, kailangan niyang pick upin yung mga yung mga completed activity sheets from the magulang once a week. At once a week, then babalik sila sa eskwela para isubmit yon. At saka, there's certain times nga that they have to go to the actual homes of their students to check on them. Lalong-lalo na yung mga walang capacity mag-aral on their own because yung mga magulang hindi nga nakapagtapos or nakapag-aral. Okay? We have been in and out of schools and learners' communities since June of last year. But DepEd still refuses to ensure screening before reporting, mass testing, and full treatment subsidy for infected personnel, costing already the health and lives of one too many teachers and staff. Ito sinabi ng Alliance of Concerned Teachers Secretary General Raymond Basilio. Okay? In an interview with DZMM last August also, Education Undersecretary Nepomuceno Malaluan said that DepEd has so far recorded 669 cases of COVID among teaching and non-teaching personnel. Of this number, 21 had died and 360 had recovered. This was last year, okay? Education Secretary Leonor Brones herself contracted the virus in April last year but has recovered, okay? Since last week, ayun na nga para sa mga taong nagre-report for work, pati yung sa kongreso, di ba, or yung sa mga eskwela, di ba, ang daming nagka-COVID na sa Congress. So, dito rin sa mga eskwela, yung mga teachers, yan, nagkaka-virus din sila kasi lumalabas sila ng bahay para pumunta na sa eskwela, right? Since last week, Rappler has been asking DepEd for data on the actual number of teachers who have contracted the virus. But of course, they're still processing that information. Well, during this briefing, this virtual briefing, Briones said that teachers, especially in high-risk areas such as Metro Manila and Calabarzon, should not be going out given strict quarantine measures. Paano nga yung mga nag-aaral ng modular na kailangan nilang bisitahin at tanggapin yung mga activity sheets? Okay? Briones gave little assurance, however, to teachers anxious about contracting the deadly virus when they step out, in line with the modular learning setup nga. Kasi wala kang choice. Yung modular, ano ba yan? Nabubulal ako. Itong modular learning setup requires that both the parents and the teachers to meet up and submit at magpalitan ng activity sheets or completed sheets. In places like NCR or National Capital Region and Region 4 Calabarzon, teachers should not be going out because they are prevented from going out. The other regions are low risk. If you're worried about exposure, you figure that out. The rest of the country is low risk assessment. Lalo na ngayon, uulitin ko, hindi sila pinipilit. Skeleton force is also being implemented, and there will be pickup points. Sometimes we are so worried about the negative things that would happen and we don't look at the positive things. Sabi yan ni Briones, kaso nga, di ba, alam na natin by now na as long as you go out there and you expose yourself, you run the risk of getting infected. Yung ng once a week na palitan ng files, so na hinahawakan mo mga files, of course, pwede mong spray yan, you know, yun, doon ang risk, okay? At saka yung pagpupunta ng mga teachers doon sa actual bahay ng estudyante, okay? Some 23.3 million public and private school students have signed up for the school opening last year ng August, which is nangyari na nga. Pero, like I said, last year, 4 million or 3 to 4 million students did not enroll, okay, for the school year 2021-2022. So, yan pa rin ang ating kinakaharap na yung readiness ng mga materials. Okay? Okay. So, yeah. So, that is the issue there about the safety. Okay? So, okay. The teacher takes the responsibility of monitoring the progress of the learners. If possible, they have to conduct home visits to check on each student's progress and performance. At yun nga yung mga nagiging anxious yung mga teachers dahil dyan because they have become frontliners talaga na parang mga doctor at nurses because they have to visit their students. Okay? Okay? All right. Likewise, learners may ask for assistance from the teacher via email, telephone, text messages, instant messaging. Parents or any member of the family, on the other hand, may serve as a guide or para-teachers to learners at home. Okay? Anong mga materials or gadgets na kailangan estudyante for modular learning? Okay? Or distance learning? Yung mga digital format, itong pinakita ko kanina. Alright? Anong way? Alright, ito, ulitin ko, pakita ko ulit. Ang mga maaaring gamitin ng mga naglalong distance learning. Ang digital format, of course, yung through the computer, your tablet, your smartphone, sa CDs, or sa flash drive, sa USB flash drives, dyan ibibigay yung study material. Okay? Sa printed material naman, which is ang gamit ng modular learning, which is 89, more than 90% ng mga magulang prefers modular education, ay ang textbook, activity sheets, at saka study guides. Okay? Alright. So, yun yung mga materials na or format na pwedeng gamitan ng modular learning or distance learning. Okay? Alright. Okay? So, is it safe yung long distance learning or modular learning? There is some, of course, there's a risk because of the fact na kailangan ngang magkita physically yung magulang at saka yung eskwela through the teacher. Okay? Pero okay, of course, ang modular learning, okay, is of course studying on your own, okay? What do we need to know about self-learning? Just like MDL or modular learning, the teacher takes the responsibility of monitoring the progress of the learners, and any members of the family, of course, can help guide and serve as the para-teachers or teachers na rin sila under the self-learning module, okay? To ensure all types of learners across the country will have to access quality-based basic education, DepEd will be providing a self-learning module, okay? Anong self-learning module? It will be delivered in printed format to the schools that are located in coastal areas, mga malayong probinsya, and communities without access to the internet or electricity. Para sa mga bahay na with gadgets and devices, the DepEd has announced that SLMs can also be accessed online or offline. Okay? Self-learning module will be integrated into video lessons, most especially for K-3 learners. Kasi this will require more auditory learning or yung learning through hearing than other grade levels. Sabi ito ni Education Secretary Leonor Briones, okay, in a statement. Learners with special needs will also have video sessions as well as assigned teachers that will guide them throughout their lessons. Yun nga yung mga teachers na dadalaw sa kanilang mga tahanan, especially para do sa mga students with special needs. At kasama na dyan, of course, yung mga magulang na walang kapasidad magturo sa kanilang mga anak kasi nga hindi sila nakapagtapos. Okay? The DepEd has prepared a set of SLMs, okay, for each region for contextualization, which will be distributed nationwide, including learners in coastal and far-flung provinces, okay, malalayong lugar. Hello there, Mr. Joey Ortiz. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. And Jake Elizar, hello there, my dear, dear good friend and talented na graphite artist, tsaka of course, awarded student. Yan, si Jake Elizar. Bakasyon ka pa, di ba? Right? Okay, very good. Pinapag-usapan pa din natin yung modular learning naman ngayon, alright? Kasi ikaw online studies ka online studying ka di ba? Yung mga problema ng modular studies, okay? So, okay, self-learning materials, okay? Will be distributed nationwide, sabi ng DepEd, okay? Para do sa mga far-flung areas, mga coastal areas. Materials and gadgets students will need, of course, is the digital format, right? Which is computer, tablet, smartphone, or CD usage, or ang printed module, which is, of course, textbook, activity sheets, and study guide. Television, radio-based instructions is also a type of SLM, wherein lessons can be heard on the radio or watched on TV. It is said to be also an effective way of learning, of delivering learning alternative for students who do not have access to the internet or do not have gadgets. Okay? Ang mga TV at radio-based instructions. Ang mga self-learning module ay maaaring maituro rin at maipalabas sa telebisyon at mapakinggan sa radyo. Ito ay epektibong alternatibo rin sa mga mag-aaral na walang access sa internet at computer, tablet at smartphones. Ang mga aari mong gamitin ay TV, manood ka ng TV, or makinig sa radyo. Okay? Alright? Okay. So, that's what I've been talking about for the past 50 minutes regarding modular learning. Okay? The problems na kinakaharap ngayon ng mga magulang at mag-aaral at ng teacher at anong ginagawa ng ating DepEd para maibsan itong mga problema na ito. Okay? But of course, based on, of course, compared to last year when we were not ready for this yet, of course, I heard that things are better now. Okay, of course, there's more printed material. If not, nasupplyan na ng todo-todo yung mga kailangan na printed material. Yung mga na last year as an emergency measure, yung mga teacher na or mga eskwelahan na mismo ang bumili ng bond paper at nag-print ng kanilang kinopya or pinasirox yung mga binigay ng DepEd. Pero ngayon, okay, mas madami ng, if not, nasusupplyan na ng tama. Okay? So, tomorrow we talk about naman blended learning, all right? But for now, yan muna ang nag-usapan natin, yung tungkol sa modular learning, all right? As it is, kagaya na sinabi natin last week, okay? The Philippines seems to be still lagging behind, all right? Lagging behind in acting on remote learning problems and pandemic. Pero yun na nga pinag-aaralan ngayon kung paano i-address yan, right? Kagaya nitong picture dito na yung teacher pumupunta, okay? Ang tawag dyan home visit because kailangan, especially for students with special needs, right? Yun na nga, either physical incapacity or yung magulang nga na hindi sila kayang turuan because hindi sila nakapag-aral, okay? So, of course, ang napiling mode of distance learning na common sa ating bansa is modular learning kasi nga, not a big percentage of our student population can afford to go on to study online because of kakulangan ng funds, or to set up their study stations. Yun na nga, walang gadgets or walang internet at all. Okay? A learning crisis emerged that was made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic. Pero yun na nga, ang solusyon dyan na ginawa ng ating gobyerno ay stop ang face-to-face studying, and distance learning, of course, does happen. So today we discussed about modular learning kasi yung online learning, marami nang pinag-usapan tungkol dyan eh. Pero because of the mga problems na kinakaharap itong even modular learning, we had discussed about it, and of course now know that the DepEd and the government are exerting more effort now to bridge these gaps or mga problema. Okay? Pero sabi nga ni Liza Marie Campo Amor Oligario, an education psychologist, sa kanyang feeling that the Philippines was never in the first place actually prepared for emergency remote learning. Kasi daw, Filipinos are stuck in the traditional type of learning. But, of course, now, more than a year after this pandemic, we're still doing distance learning. I think nakapag-adjust na in a way at unti-unti nang nasasanay yung mga estudyante. Pero sabi nga niya, students are always asked to answer quizzes while the teacher evaluates their scores. But emergency remote learning requires more authentic activities that students can relate to. Yun na nga, yung physical activities. Okay? So, tomorrow we will be talking a little bit more about modular learning. Pero we will actually talk about the learning management systems that are being used to facilitate online education also. Okay? At yung mga bagay na ginagawa para ma-facilitate ang online learning. And what software, what management systems we are using to improve our online learning capabilities. So maraming salamat po sa mga tumutok sa atin today at who joined us. Of course, please always feel free to ask questions and we will answer it the best way we can. Field your questions through my personal messenger or on my Facebook. I-message nyo na ako kung friend ko kayo. Sa JC Bautista ang Facebook ko pong name, or that's the name there. Or of course, through Broad Streamcast Communicators, you can always send your questions through our messenger. And of course, for those who missed this telecast, this episode, and who wants to, gustong balikan yung mga past episodes namin po, nasa YouTube na rin po kami. We have a YouTube channel, a Broad Streamcast Communicators. So please feel free to like and subscribe po our page. Okay, tulungan niyo po kaming ma-achieve po ang aming goal na maparating pa ang mga information na ito sa mas maraming tao. So please like and subscribe the Broad Streamcast Communicators YouTube page. Doon po mapapanood niyo po ang aming mga past episodes, yung lahat ng mga programa namin dito that starts from 7:30 yata or 7:30 in the morning to 12 o'clock midnight. Meron po kaming shows Monday to Sunday. Ang inyong pong lingkod ng aming programa po, it's online. Buhay Online is Monday to Friday lamang. Okay? Very good. So thank you so much. Modular distance learning, here's what you need to know, and I have given you some information more on modular learning. Okay? At pinag-usapan natin yung risks that teachers feel anxious about regarding distance learning. Itong dahil nga sa pagbibisita sa mga homes ng estudyante o yung magulang, they meet up somewhere, pareho silang nanggaling sa labas. Pinag-usapan natin yung mga anxieties ng mga guro at magulang regarding this distance learning. Pero patuloy pa po natin pag-uusapan yan parang to wrap up, and of course talk about learning management systems as well and other online learning tools that we need to do, that we are using to facilitate online learning. Thank you so much for joining me. Maraming salamat po. Magkita-kita tayo puli bukas. Thank you. Maraming salamat po and see you. Okay, sa college daw, August 16 na, sabi ni Jake. Sure na ba yan? Na-decide na ba yan? But anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Maraming salamat.
Inyong natunghayan at napakinggan ang mga makabagong pamamaraan sa mundo ng online sa pamamagitan pa rin ng Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.